I say about this, just to make sure that that reflects and is fair to them. So we did invite all the main political parties and groups active within Kirklees Council. Kirklees Conservative groups have said that they've struggled to find someone available to speak and have sent their apologies. Kirklees Labour has not put forward a speaker in response to our invitation. A representative from Kirklees Community Independents Group was going to join us, but has had to cancel due to unforeseen circumstances. So we are very grateful to be joined by Andrew Cooper, who will be representing Kirklees Green Party. He's the joint leader of Kirklees Green Party and is councillor for Newsom. We're also grateful to Andrew Marchington for joining us. He is Kirklees Liberal Democrat deputy group leader for the Kirklees Liberal Democrats and is councillor for Golka. We're looking forward to a vigorous debate between the candidates. We'd ask both them and you, the audience, to show respect for others and to create a safe and inclusive space for all. We will not tolerate abusive or discriminatory language, and we will remove anyone from the Zoom call who doesn't abide by those guidelines. However, we do really want people with us, joining us for the Zoom call, to participate fully. We have got a chat box for you to submit questions, and we'll be selecting from these questions for our audience today, which our question master will choose from. We'd also encourage you to share your reactions on social media on hashtag Kirklees Climate Hustings. If you have any technical problems, please use the chat box to send a message to our tech host, Ned. Just 3 points of housekeeping before we begin. The event is recorded, so audience members, your sound and video won't be visible. Secondly, there's automatic transcription, which helps out some people, though it isn't 100% perfect and does make mistakes sometimes. So if you'd like to hide subtitles at the bottom of, you can do so by clicking the dots at the bottom of the Zoom window and clicking hide subtitles. Finally, in terms of fairness, we want to make sure that we give an equal amount of time to each candidate. So Chailey will be asking the questions, and she'll also be giving candidates hand signals when they are in their final 15 seconds of an answer or their time for an answer. Candidates, please be warned, will be intervening if you overrun. So let's get started. In a few moments, I'll ask candidates to introduce themselves and then we'll have questions. The questions have been put forward by members of the Huddersfield Friends of the Earth group and other local campaign groups, as well as people who are joining us today. There's a range of topics reflecting the complexity of the emergency and the wide range of issues councillors have to contend with. So I'd like to begin. We're going to begin with a 3-minute opportunity, an opportunity for a 3-minute introduction by each of our party representatives. We'll alternate the order of speakers each time, but as Andrew Cooper is first alphabetically, I'll ask him to begin by responding and introducing himself and responding to these questions. And these are the questions. What are your key policies to address the climate emergency in Kirklees? How do you think Kirklees is doing in implementing its climate change action plan? And can you identify one positive thing the council is doing and one where it is not delivering? Andrew.
Okay, so is all those things in 3 minutes? Is it, or am I just introducing myself in 3 minutes?
You're saying, hello, I'm Andrew, and
yep.
And you're introducing yourself, and then you're going to respond to
each of those 3 things, all in 3 minutes.
You'd like to.
Okay.
All in 3 minutes.
Right, okay. I'm Andrew Cooper. I'm a councillor for the Newsom ward in Huddersfield, and I have been a councillor for 25 years. And in that time, we've influenced Kirklees policy when they've been in Home Council, and so we've done some positive things there. I can go into those into a bit more detail later. I've also been delegate at COP conferences, things, so I've had a good background in climate action for quite a while. In terms of key policies, one of the things that we've been pushing for quite a long time is that we should have passive house standard for all new build council buildings. That's something that we've made some progress on, though it's worth checking up to see how the council's actually doing on its commitments. It did say it was going to build 12 passive house houses. We're not sure that that's actually happened yet. We've been pushing for a retrofit offer because at the moment we don't have such a thing, but that'd be something that we could do in combination with the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. Another thing is we've got to make sure that the car is the least convenient option in terms of travel, and that public transport, active travel are the preferred methods. That means making sure that road schemes, things like that, are things that we can deal with. To that aim, we've always put £1 million for traffic calming. That has been something that that we want as part of the Kirklees Highways budget. We've been putting that forward for several years now, and always been kicked back by Kirklees. I'm very conscious of my 3 minutes. I've gone through some key policies. How's Kirklees doing? Kirklees is not doing well at all in terms of addressing climate change. There isn't a climate action plan, to my mind, yet. And there's some good things going on, and the council can point to things and say, look, we're doing this. That's fine, but there isn't a climate change action plan yet. There is a series of options and potential things that could be done. One positive thing, yes, they did a retrofit scheme to some council houses. I kept asking if that very positive scheme to about 10 houses was going to be replicated, or if it was going to be part of a program. But all we got really was a press release and a visit from Keir Starmer, which is very nice. I'm sorry, I cannot see Chailey if she's winding me up because I'm on my phone, so I can't see if she's saying that. So if you want to say
15 seconds, Andrew.
15 seconds, right? Okay, then I'll leave it there, and yeah, happy to answer any questions that come.
Thank you, Andrew, very much for that. If I could now ask the same question and give to Andrew Marchington from the Liberal Democrats, and given the same opportunity to introduce himself, what are the key policies to address the climate emergency in Kirklees? How do you think Kirklees is doing to implement its climate change action plan? And can you identify one positive thing the council is doing and one where it's not delivering?
Yeah, thank you. Charlie, could you just give me an order? Just tell me when it's 15 seconds because my site's not 100% at the moment. So if you just, I don't mind you interrupting me if I'm going a little bit too long. Yeah, Andrew Marchington, Deputy Leader of the Kirklees Liberal Democrats. I'm also a member nationally of Green Liberal Democrats. So that's quite important to us. I think we've had lots of issues for us in terms of climate change in Kirklees. I mean, the big one in the last couple of budget rounds for us has been solar PV battery systems on Kirklees Council houses. We know that the council's got a roof replacement scheme on at the moment, and we know that actually if the council would fit solar PV to roofs while that was happening, there would be a significant cost as well as a benefit to residents. So that's been a big proposal. I think the other thing we've picked up, a couple of things, is about air quality. I think there ought to be air quality monitoring, which would help us to encourage people and put forward schemes where traffic reduction would help out. I think the other thing that occasionally gets missed in this is biodiversity. So it's not just about reducing carbon emissions and reducing energy use, but also making sure that the place where we live, it's not just a monoculture. so green corridors, and actually that improves the way people feel about the place where they live as well. And the LGA had a really good bit of research about the things, you know, living close to water, living in a green environment, so contact with nature, and actually that works quite well in Kirklees, but people just need reminding of it as well. So what's working well? I think actually, if you look over the next few years, there's going to be significant amounts of social housing going to be built in Kirklees, about 3,500 houses. That's a real positive. We would encourage that as an opportunity to make sure that those houses are, whether it's passive house standard, as Andrew's referred to, but passive house standard, certainly get them fitted with solar PV. It could be a really good example to residents and builders about how this can be done, and save residents significant amounts of money. I think the plan that Kirklees has is okay. It's just quite good at talking the talk, declaring the climate emergency, but it's not been implemented. And when we challenge about the administration about what they're doing, it feels a bit like greenwashing. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We want to see that in action. So the plan, fine with the plan, but it's actually seen that implemented.
Sorry,
So
15 seconds.
that's fine, I think. Looking forward to your questions.
You're up, Shaylee. Need to unmute.
Sorry, apologies. So we're on the next question. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is question 1 and everyone has a minute to answer. So sorry, it's even less time. What concrete commitments can you give to help insulate more homes and push down bills for local residents, particularly in deprived wards in Dewsbury and Batley? And what's your position on the passive house standard for new affordable homes in Kirklees? And that goes to Andrew again, or yeah. I can't remember which order we're doing it in. Yes, Andrew.
Which Andrew?
Sorry. Actually, we'll start with Andrew Marchington. Sorry, it's Andrew. Yeah, apologies.
Yeah.
Try and alternate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think Kirklees is quite and this is a bit of partnership working when Lib Dems and Green were in administration together. It might be just after that. So we did Warm Zone Plus. I think Andrew did the bit of work that made sure that was extended to all houses in Kirklees. So some of the insulation things that other parties are now proposing has already happened in Kirklees. We just need to make sure that's pushed forward a bit further. And I think there's a follow-up, so particularly in places like Dewsbury and Batley, to make sure that houses are fully insulated. Passive house standard, I mean, any new build, it costs a small amount more, depending. If you do it well, if you're doing it in bulk, he's probably only talking about 5%. But the amount of money and energy that's saved over the lifetime of how a house makes it worthwhile. So certainly passive house principles, we ought to be doing more of that where appropriate, where the site is appropriate.
I'll stop you there. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Andrew Cooper, do you want me to read the question again, or can you remember it? You got it. Okay.
Unmute. Right. So yes, straightforwardly, passive house standard for all new build. One of the things that we do know from Exeter Council, City Council, is that when you actually do this and make it a standard policy, prices come down, and builders actually love making things to that standard because they get a real pride out of building to that standard. And so it's got to be something that we do over a period of time. Exeter have found that, so yeah, it's a great example, and they're very willing to share. Yes, retrofit. I think the way we've got to deal with retrofit is we're linking with West Yorkshire Combined Authority and trying to turbocharge the Better Homes scheme, and use that to be able to develop an offer which people can, a compelling offer, so people can use the capital within their homes to put the tens of thousands in to actually effectively insulate. Have I got over a minute?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So the next question is, what's your, now this is going to Andrew Cooper, so in that different order. Andrew Cooper, what is your position on fossil fuel investments within the local authority pension fund? And how would you protect funds from the risks of stranded assets relating to fossil fuel investments? Okay, just bear with me. I'm going to start the timer because I should have given this job to someone else. Okay, go.
Okay, so got a good track record in terms of supporting divestment from fossil fuels from the pension fund. So that's something that we keep getting people coming back to us saying, oh well, we couldn't quite do it and it's not quite possible, and so that's always frustrating when we do that. I mean, and I think actually pointing out the fact that these are going to be stranded assets if we're serious about climate action is something that we've got to really ram home and use the investments we have to invest in things that address climate action instead of investing in fossil fuels.
Great, thank you. That's lovely. Okay, Andrew Marchington. You're on mute, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. So I was unmuted. Right. Unfortunately, the West Yorkshire Pension Fund is in a reasonably healthy financial state, so it actually should be looking to long-term investments. So it shouldn't be getting itself in a position of having stranded assets by investing in fossil fuel companies. And we know that there's huge potential in investing in renewables as an alternative to that. And there's a wide variety of whether that's wind, photovoltaic, and other things, which actually means you can get a diversified portfolio which is robust. And again, it's long-term thinking, not just short-term. Even if fossil fuel companies giving you quite high returns at the moment, we know there's risks into the future.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I finished early there, but that's great. Okay, sorry, next question is, for a thriving local green economy, we need good, well-paid, secure jobs in organisations owned by and for the public. How would your party promote green jobs in Kirklees in all sectors? And that's to Andrew Marchington.
Yeah, it's not all owned and run by the public. I mean, we've got in the ward I represent, the Goka ward, we've got Pennine Textile Recycling, that so cloth that's going through the recycling system is repurposed, and I think that goes then to John Cotton over in is one of the people they supply, so looking for that. So it's just thinking creatively, and I think what we would like is a better look at the local economy, that cyclical things. So people buying things that have a higher percentage of renewable reused materials in them, stuff that's things that last longer, and actually making sure people have got recognizing that having skills in the green industries, whether that's working on homes or manufacturing, is the way things are going to go, and that's a really good thing to do.
Great, thank you. And same question to Andrew Cooper, please.
One of the problems with green jobs is the definition is so wide that I think really if we're going to be effective, we've got to look at where we're going to prioritize. And so I think prioritizing retrofit skills, renewables, and effective new build is the way that we're going to have jobs that are going to be generational jobs that people are going to have for a long time, and they're going to be well-paid jobs as well. Because if we're going to do the moonshot approach that we need to do to reduce carbon emissions, then a huge retrofit sector is going to be vitally important, and so building the skills for that will ensure that people have got jobs for 20, 30 years.
Great, thank you. That was exactly a minute. Thank you. Great. So the next question. Next question so it seems a bit odd going to this different order, but going back to Andrew Cooper, next question is, how will your party promote accessible and affordable public transport and discourage the use of cars in Kirklees? How will you support more walking and cycling? So Andrew Cooper.
Okay, well, obviously this is the mayor's responsibility. So if somehow or other I'm elected mayor, then I'll be able to help with that. So, you know, don't want to jump hustings here. But so that's something where the Kirklees will have to work in concert with the mayor. We also want to make sure that in highway schemes that we prioritise public transport and they have priority over motor vehicles. So that's important. We need dedicated cycle lanes which are protected because at the moment cycling is quite terrifying on Kirklees roads, and we've got to make sure that there are safe options, and that's where we've got to be investing the money for highways at the moment. A lot more I could say about this, but only got a minute.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry. Okay, and the same question to Marchington, please.
So as a Liberal Democrat group, we do think that franchising is the right way to go, which gives us, so the West Yorkshire can coordinate it. We're already seeing the yellow bee buses travelling up and down the Combe Valley from Greater Manchester. So that's thing. Huge investment with Transpennine upgrade. We just think there's opportunities there to actually get an integrated system. So in our part of the world, you know, buses that go to the stations at the same time as the trains are likely to arrive and all that. So an integrated system. When my eyes are fit, I am a cyclist. I've got an e-bike. I bought that through a Cycle to Work scheme. It does make it, I feel safe enough travelling on roads in the most, you know, and the vast majority of motorists, including big lorries, are courteous and careful with cyclists. I think enforcement against those motorists who are not, that's the way to go, as well as some of the infrastructures that Andrew's talked about. Just so it's awareness and stuff. So
stop there.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. This goes to Andrew Marchington first. And this question is quite a long question, but many in Kirklees are concerned about the ongoing bombardment of Gaza and the devastating loss of life across Palestine and Israel. Friends of the Earth, England, Wales and Northern Ireland has joined calls for an immediate ceasefire to save lives, as well as opening of borders to allow crucial aid in and an end to the occupation to deliver a long-lasting peace. It also continues to condemn the killing of all civilians and call for hostages to be released. Additionally, the environmental impact of the war has been devastating. In January, a social science research network found that in the first 60 days, the conflict had already generated more carbon emissions than 20 countries in a whole year, with 99.7% of emissions generated by the Israeli armed forces. Along with the destruction of farmland, this will have a long-lasting impact on the people of Gaza and contribute to the ecological threat to many in poor countries. Sorry, that's quite a long preamble, but the question is, elected officials have a responsibility to use their influence and power to call for accountability. If elected, will you use your voice as a councillor to, this obviously is your party, to call for an immediate, full and effective ceasefire and an end to the illegal occupation? So that's to Andrew Marchington, please.
We did have a motion at council and Andrew and I were both there. So we do, you know, full ceasefire immediately. I mean, what's happening there, you know, everybody has the right to defend themselves, but neither how much, you know, what's happening there is not a defensive operations. I think the other thing is we need to recognise the climate impact of war, and as you say, the amount of carbon emissions caused by this. It's another factor, isn't it? And of course, the most pressing thing is about protecting and saving human life. That's number one, but also there's other consequences to the effects of war. We've seen that both in Israel, Palestine, but also in the Ukraine with attacks on infrastructure as well. So we just need to have a better attitude towards each other, and just bearing that in mind in terms of conflict situations as well.
Okay, thank you. And the same question to Andrew Cooper, please.
Okay, so the Green Party proposed a motion to Kirklees Council calling for an immediate permanent ceasefire. So it was the Green Party that presented that. We called for ceasing arms sales to Israel, an end to military aid for Israel. We called on the Israeli government to resume negotiations with the Palestinians. We asked for an end to the occupation and to abide by United Nations Resolution 242. And we asked all parties to release hostages and prisoners held in administrative detention. Unfortunately, those elements were taken out of our motion because one party on the council amended it to take those things out. So we've got a strong commitment, a proven commitment to peace in Gaza, and yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah, stop there. Thank you. Right, next question. Okay, so this is to Andrew Cooper as well to start with. So the Climate Change Committee's recommendation that sorry, I don't know why I've muted my video, sorry. The Climate Change Committee's recommendation that UK airports should not be allowed to expand until the aviation industry is proved to be on track to reach net zero. Sorry, I'm reading this. I haven't read this. I'm going to read this again. Sorry. Climate Change Committee recommends that UK airports should not be allowed to expand until the aviation industry is proved to be on track to reach net zero by 2050. What's your position on expansion of Leeds Bradford Airport, should it happen at all? That's to Andrew Cooper.
No, it shouldn't. The night flights they're breaking the planning, the restrictions on night flights, so they should basically be brought to task over that. And no public investment should go to support the expansion of Leeds Bradford International Airport. And that's there is talk basically of doing that at the regional level. And so I would ensure that there's no facilitation of that expansion. You know, getting a bus or a tram to an airport is not my idea of good investment. We should be, in many ways, limiting the amount of air traffic that goes there. But what they're actually trying to do is expand it by stealth.
Okay, thank you, thank you. And same question to Andrew Marchington, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we should be encouraging people to fly less, and that's not fly at all, but to reduce the amount of flights they take. The model for airports seem to be about continual expansion. That shouldn't be done unless the climate change, climate issues, carbon emissions issues can be addressed. And actually encouraging people to do alternatives. So I've been looking, my wife and I are looking at doing a trip to Europe next year, then end of next year, and we found out that interrailing is actually we can do that. We can, we're looking to go to the Netherlands and to Germany, and then your travel becomes part of the holiday, traveling through places. So there are alternatives in the short term. Yeah, not in favour of expansion, but also encouraging people to look for alternatives either in the UK or when they travel overseas.
Brilliant, thank you. You're all getting very good at talking within a minute, so thank you. Okay, next question is and this is going to Andrew Marchington first. So I'm trying to keep remembering. Although petrol and diesel cars are responsible for a major amount of pollution and the illnesses like asthma associated with it, Kirklees is currently planning 10 major road schemes with capital costs of 160 million, with a funding gap of 40 million. What's your position on road expansion in Kirklees? So that's Andrew Marchington, please.
I think we'd like them to fix the existing roads first. That's my major thing. We know that there's just a number of potholes, and we've already had the question about cycling and transport, and we just find that that would make my life a lot safer on the roads. I think where it can be, a scheme can be justified to reduce, improve air quality, we would say that is fine. But if a road scheme, as we know most road schemes do, just increases the volume of traffic, then we're not in favour of that. So I think it needs to be done on a case-by-case basis. There's a proper environmental impact assessment. So it's not no to any of them, but probably no to most of the ones that are in the pipeline at the moment.
Okay, thank you. And the same question to Andrew Cooper, please.
So yeah, no new investments in new road schemes. So opposition to that, where that is about facilitating the car. So that's important. If it's about protecting cyclists, that's a different matter. So that's important. The council has signed up to Vision Zero about safety on roads, but it has zero budget for Vision Zero, and so that's about zero casualties and zero road deaths. And so we would want to invest that money for new road schemes into traffic calming to protect people in their communities from the dangers of road deaths and road accidents. Well, accidents is probably not the term, is it?
Okay, thank you.
Somebody's responsible.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, next question. Many people were very concerned about the removal of trees from Queensgate in Huddersfield Town Centre, and other trees are under threat from road expansion schemes, for example, at Cavalry Arms. Does your party have a position on how to protect trees in Kirklees and help double tree cover? And how would you improve access for all nature? Sorry, that's a lot to cover in a minute, but so over to Andrew Cooper, please.
Okay, so we've got a good track record on this. We're very supportive of the scheme to save trees at Edgerton, at Blacker Road, around there, and so that was a positive. That was a win, and we're not claiming that. It was local people who we supported. So that's the important way about how you operate with these things, and I think that we should be guided by campaigners and be supportive of them. Certainly, I've been supportive of them regarding the trees at Queensgate. It's got to be we're fighting individual campaigns, and it's all a case-by-case basis. We need a policy really to protect trees, to make sure that they're not affected. It's like the trees were spoiling the view of the murals. It's like the trees were the view. That's the crazy thing. And so we need a different change in mindset to address to address these problems.
Thank you. And same question to Andrew Marchington, please.
I think we didn't need a long-term strategy. I mean, you're talking about trees, you're talking about a really long-term strategy. You know, the adage is if you're planting trees, you're planting them for your grandchildren, and we just need to think really way ahead. So yeah, I think case by case, you know, we need to look at where the trees are at the moment, but also let's plant for the future. And it's really sad if a tree that's a mature tree, the beautiful tree, is in a place where it does need to, and occasionally they do need to reprove because they're causing damage to other buildings, and there's a threat, you know, to that. So long-term planning. I think some of the blanket removals of trees, as we've seen in city centres, is just not appropriate. But occasionally you do need to remove trees for good reason. It shouldn't be done lightly, though.
Okay, thank you. Right. Got two more questions, and then we've got the questions from the audience that we're hopefully incorporating in today. So so we've, I think, 5 questions in total, and then the rounding up at the end. So we're doing great. Okay, so this question's to Andrew Marchington. What are your plans on improving waste recycling for Kirklees? How would you hold the current or any new waste recycling contractors to better account?
I think, again, it's thinking long term about it, and I've said that just think about if we can recycle stuff and use it locally, that's a really good thing to do. I think we see examples. I think it's Norway where there's incentives to actually, in terms of plastic bottle recycling, to be done locally, and we know we've got firms locally who've got the skills to do that. I think we were appalled by the costs of we were very much in favour of return to curbside glass collection, and when we were told the amount of the capital that's needed to invest in Emerald Street to do that, we're back. And some of that is where we don't have enough money locally, and central government needs to be supporting us in that. But yeah, to try and recycle stuff as much as locally as possible, but not ship it halfway around the world to create a problem for a developing country.
Thank you. And same question to Andrew Cooper, please.
Okay, so a few things. I think one of the top of the list has got to be gaining faith in recycling. People dutifully recycle, and then they don't necessarily know what happens with it. So I think it's one of the things we've got to do is let people know what's happening with their recycled waste. And so I think transparency is important. We've got to work on reducing contamination of green bins. That's a big job. We need to be working closely with households where there's an issue there. Yep, really concerned about the loss of curbside glass collection. That's a real problem. We need more community recycling facilities. We need more places where people can take their recycling close to where they live, as opposed to just simply the green bin. I think we need more opportunities to do it. That's where you get your recycling rates up, where you do more community recycling. Composting, local composting is important, and doing that. And we've got to think very carefully about whether food waste collection is necessarily a good idea, because actually the carbon emissions can go up from food waste collections.
I'm going to have to stop you there. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, next one. Okay. So next one's talking about the climate action plan, really, the council's climate action plan. What do you, so this is to Andrew Cooper, what do you make of the Climate Emergency UK scorecard rating of Kirklees? Would your party be willing to sign up for free training for newly elected councillors offered by Climate Emergency UK?
Absolutely, and I'd sign up the Labour cabinet to start with. So no, more seriously, absolutely. Some people make quibbles about it, say, "Oh, I'm not sure that that's right," or "I'm not sure that they've really judged us properly." But what we haven't had is a proper response from the council to Climate Emergency UK's. When I brought this up to council, and I have the scoring, I've been told, "Oh well, we've won this award." Well, I'm pleased that the council's won a climate award of some description, but answer the question. What is it that's not right about the Climate Emergency UK report? I find it amazing that we've got Ofsted for education, and that we've got all such things looking at social care and children, but we have no agency that looks at how effective local authorities are on climate action. And that's why Climate Emergency UK exists, because otherwise government doesn't really care about what we actually do on climate action.
Thank you. And same question to Andrew Marchington, please.
I think just have some people who don't get it, just don't get it. I mean, it's greenwashing, some of it. And we see the really good bit of research that Friends of the Earth have commissioned through Exeter about the potential for renewables. And we know in Kirklees that, if we're going to get to net zero, some of the carbon, we need to do some of the carbon negative stuff outside Kirklees, and just looking at holistic thing. So better understanding, so that when we are trying to propose things like solar PV battery schemes, we don't have people saying, oh, it's old technology. It's not proven technology. You can't do it, when we know that for me, the numbers stack up. And, personally, our family have invested quite a lot in it. We know the numbers work out, but you're trying to explain that to people who have a vested interest in not understanding it. So better understanding, I think, would help the council, but help for all the residents in Kirklees as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm just struggling a little bit because I can't see the questions that I'm just can you everyone bear with me for 1 second? I'm just going to see if I can find the question. Right. Okay. Struggling. Sorry. This is not going quite to plan. Okay. So the first question I've got here is from one of the audience is, and it's good because it's sort of slightly different to what we've had already. So I'm going to, this is to Andrew Marchington. What can be done to prevent damage to the moors from grouse shooting dogs and humans? So you've got 60 seconds.
Yeah, well, I think recognising that the moors are a resource for everybody, not just a few. And I know this talks about some of the field sports, managing moors and managing the lands, but they need to be, needs to be available for everybody. So, and not to exclude the vast majority of people because people want to follow a particular pursuit. Yeah, that would be my answer to that.
Great, thank you. And same question to Andrew Cooper, please.
Well, I'd ban it. I'd ban grouse shooting on moors if there was a way of doing it, and if the council has any land, then I would where that's happening, then I'd ban that too. I don't think it actually does. We've also got to highlight the impact on flooding of a lot of the burning of heather and those sort of things to facilitate grouse shooting, and so those issues are important. And looking at the work of Moors for the Future as an organisation, we've done a lot of good work and support those sort of organisations who are looking at revitalising our moors and putting and ensuring that they're going to be rich carbon sinks going forward.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Right. Next question from the audience is, do you support a citizens' assembly on climate and ecological justice and to be led by the Assembly's decision? This is something that's been used in lots of different places. I think Scottish Parliament have used the Citizens' Assembly for some of their policies. So, that question to Andrew Cooper, please.
I often think that the public's way ahead of politicians on issues like climate, and so I think sometimes politicians are too reticent to deal with things because they believe somehow or other that the public are not going to be backing them. So I'd have faith in things like citizens' assemblies as ways of us engaging with communities and making sure that we work with them, and that people don't feel that things are done to them, that they're part of that. Sorry about the juddering. I'm trying to put a power lead somewhere into my phone so it doesn't go off.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It's fine. Thank you. That's great. So same question to Andrew Marchington about citizens' assemblies and for Kirklees, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way of investigating an issue, promoting the understanding of an issue amongst the wider public. You need to make sure you get a really wide range of people there and a wide range of views. Some of those the views that challenge what we're doing in terms of climate change, actually you can have that discussion with somebody as well. But I think there also needs to be a commitment to follow up. If you set the parameters properly and say this is the scope of this particular discussion, and the willingness to follow it up, because that's some of the frustration we've had with the administration in Kirklees, where we've had councillors looking at things like the Climate Change Committee. There wasn't a commitment to follow through on some really good ideas that came there.
Okay, thank you. Right, so this is the last question before we're wrapping up. Okay, so bear with me. Apologies. So it's been the hottest March on record, and people are rowing back on environmental and climate promises. Record levels of people are struggling with financial and mental health challenges. Can you give me hope, or am I doomed to become as depressed as the rest? So that's to Andrew Marchington, please. Right.
Well, if we give up, then there is no hope for us, and I think we need to stick with it. And I'm always amazed by people's ingenuity and willingness to change. And as I say, if we've got an evidence-based approach, that report the other day to say that just by using 2.9 or 3.9% of the UK's landmass, we could generate 2.5 times the amount of electricity we know. So we know it's possible. We just need to get from where we are to where we want to be, and there is going to have to be some adaptation, because we know that temperatures are going to rise until we get the amount of greenhouse gases reduced. So it's use the ingenuity we've got, but not just in a selfish way, to recognise it's a global issue.
Okay, thank you. And same question to Andrew Cooper.
Well, I'm very much a glass half full sort of guy, what I see hope everywhere in the things that we're doing. Every time that people get together and plant trees, I see hope. When I see a food growing projects like growing Newsom, I see hope. Every time I see solar panels go on a building where people have got the money together to do it, I see hope. So hope is everywhere, and positivity is everywhere. And I think it's our duty as politicians to provide more of that, more things where people can see that we're moving forward and not going backwards, because so much of society at the moment seems to be backward steps. And so our role very much is to show people that way forward that gives them faith that there is going to be a future and that it's going to be a green future.
Thank you. So I'm going to move back to Tim now for the last section. I think we're giving everyone 3 minutes each to wrap up, because
Sure.
Yeah, that's that. So over to Tim. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Andrew for contributing so much to this afternoon's event. Before we close the event, we'd like to draw people's attention to the 3 key pledges that we're asking all candidates in Kirklees Council elections to support. So they are, sorry, bear with me. They are, I'll read them here. So the first one is to sign the UK 100 Local Climate Pledge, which aims to encourage better cross-party working and to take the heat out of the local climate action. The second one is to commit to attending the free Local Climate Academy course for councillors by Climate Emergency UK. And the third one is to sign the End Fuel Poverty Action Councillor Pledge. So Huddersfield Friends of the Earth will be sharing links to the 3 pledges and who has signed them, which of the candidates has signed them, on the Huddersfield Friends of the Earth website. And we'll be sharing those with our mailing list as well. We want to work with successful candidates to enable them to deliver radical action for the climate and for nature in Kirklees. People who've joined us today, if you're not involved in Huddersfield Friends of the Earth, please join us. We're part of a network of volunteer groups in Kirklees, which is campaigning for the transformational change that is required. There's a link in the chat box if you'd like to sign up. Our next online meeting is on Tuesday, the 7th of May, and our next in-person meeting is on Thursday, the 16th of May. You may be interested to know that the hustings for the West Yorkshire mayoral election is also this week. It's on Tuesday, I believe, which is coming up soon. I'd like to thank everybody for
Tim,
yes.
Sorry, we need to let the speakers do their wrap up because
Yep, certainly. Yeah,
you're on that.
Yeah, I was just about to pass
Sorry.
over to them. So
Sorry.
That's okay. So I'd like to thank again for Andrew for joining us today, and I'd like to just give them an opportunity sort of for a final 3 minutes overview of or summing up of what they would like to pitch to voters in Kirklees about their commitments. Can we begin with? I'm sorry, I can't remember who was the last person. Oh, I know it would be Andrew Marchington. Could you begin first, please? Your 3 minute final pitch.
Yeah, thank you, Tim, and thank you to all the work that Friends of the Earth do in raising issues about climate change. And I think that all the pledges are really important, but that one about working together locally to come to solutions. And we just wish that some of the ideas we've put forward that we know work, which would make a big impact in reducing climate emissions, but also will make people's lives better as well. So that schemes like the better insulation reduces people's fuel bills when that is a significant part of their outgoings and can for some people a significant minority lead to fuel poverty. Solar PV battery schemes, we're contributing to generating renewable electricity. It helps the householder out, reduces fuel bills, but also adds to grids, adds to our fuel security. So for some of these things, it's a climate win, but also a win for local residents. And then the issues around biodiversity, improving air quality, also looking at the built environment, make sure that we share this not just with other people, but also with fauna and flora. And actually, some of those things about having a really good quality environment locally improves well-being, and recognise we do live in a wonderful part of the world with the hills, the green cover we've got, the rivers that flow through it. We want them to be clean as well. All of that is things. If we think about that and invest in that, it improves climate outcomes, not just for ourselves but for the whole world. But also, it's our well-being, how secure our lives are improved as well. So that would be our pitch in the local elections. There's so much the council can do. So we want the council to listen, for us to be able to contribute positively, for residents to be listened to, and for residents' lives to be improved. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew Cooper, your 3 minutes final pitch.
So I 100% agree with Andrew in terms of the council needs to listen on issues of climate change, on actually lots of issues, not just climate change. And one of the things that I'm quite keen to see happen is an end to tribal politics. And tribal politics means that good ideas that come from others are not taken up. And a we know best approach that sometimes we encounter is rather frustrating. And so changing the culture of the council is really important if we're going to see any substantial action on climate change. Some of the best work that this council has ever done on climate change, when we were a leader, was due to the fact that we were a home council where parties had to work together. to achieve things. And it's sad to say that Kirklees no longer has the reputation it once had, and other councils are way ahead of us. There's some humility from Kirklees actually on that, to recognise that we are no longer leads in climate change, but we could be again if we look at best practice from around the country and indeed around the world. Best practice is, you think everybody agrees with best practice. Best practice is marvellous. Doesn't everybody agree with that? Actually, no, because sometimes people go, "Oh, it won't work here." No, that won't work. Not in Kirklees. And so getting over that mentality is important. When I look at things like the Employers' Workplace Parking Levy in Nottingham, which brings £9 million a year into public transport and active travel schemes, which has levered in best part of £750 million, £750 million, sorry, in investments the area into public transport and active travel measures. That's something we could look at here. Why not across the whole of West Yorkshire? So there's lots and lots that we can actually do, why not do it? I looked at climate change bonds as an area which has been something that's been done in 10 councils. We put it forward as a budget amendment, didn't get through. So yeah, we need to change, and I think actually the council needs to lose its majority for good things to happen. Sad to say.
Thank you, Andrew. So that brings us to the end of this evening's event, this husting event. I'd like to just say again, thank you very much for the Andrew Cooper and Andrew Marchington for joining us. I'd also like to thank the team at Huddersfield Friends of the Earth who've helped with this event, in particular to Chailey, Adrian and Ned. And I'd like to thank all of the people who've attended, who've joined us on Zoom, for giving up your pleasant Sunday afternoon and evening to be with us. We hope that it's given you some food for thoughts, and we hope you'd like to follow up some of the links to participate in future events and actions if that interests you. Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, thank you to Tim for chairing as well, and big thank you for everyone. And I will send links round to everyone who signed up on Eventbrite, so you'll get all the links. So thank you.